today I'll be concluding my review of Peter Jackson's three-part Beatles docu-series with my thoughts on the third and final episode. Without further ado, here's my thoughts on my review of the Beatles Get Back episode 3. So to start off, at the start of the episode, there's a very nice moment where Ringo's kind of on the piano singing his new song he's written, Octopus's Garden, which would turn out to be on the Abbey Road album. And George Harrison is in the corner listening, and he comes over with his acoustic guitar, and he helps Ringo with some of the lyrics, some of the chords, and where to put his fingers on the piano and everything. Yeah, and it's a very nice moment, and George Martin, the producer, is there to observe proceedings, and then John and Yoko turns up, and John goes onto the drums as a joke for a few seconds to go along, and then Paul and Linda turn up at the studio with Linda's daughter and Paul's stepdaughter Heather, who's very young at the time, and she kind of, the Beatles are jamming, and she kind of is running about the studio, having a mess about, which is quite nice. And then we go along to the scene of George rehearsing a new song he's written, Old Brown Shoe, on the piano. Interesting to see George on the piano, and he's asking the keyboard player, the session musician Billy Preston, what key is this, Billy? Asking for advice on what to play. And then they're doing a rehearsal of Oh Darling, a song which would also end up on the Abbey Road album a few months later. And the news comes through that Yoko's divorced with her ex-husband Tony Cox come through, and John announces it to Paul and George and Ringo, the other members of the band, and he's in the hysterics about that, and he adds his own lyrics to Oh Darling at that point to go along with the good news he's just heard. Then the next interesting bit of part 3 is George is presenting a new song, Something the Way She Moves, which would become a standout song on the Abbey Road album. And George is like, what could it be, Paul? Something in the way she moves. He's trying to think of the next line. He's been stuck on it for 6 months, and he can't think. Paul doesn't really offer much help, but John suggests just saying the first thing that comes into your head until you get the words. It attracts me like a cauliflower, for example, until he gets the right words. And in fairness, John does help George with some of the lyrics of Something, and they do a rehearsal of that, which is very interesting footage. And then John, George and Ringo have a meeting with the new business manager at the time, Alan Klein, a very notorious character in Beatles history, who would be blamed for breaking up the band a few months later. And Paul from the start, he didn't even go to the meeting in this episode. He didn't trust Alan Klein from day one. And then there's great footage of the band planning what turned out to be the rooftop concert on 30th of January 1969. And there's great footage of Paul talking about his ideas with Michael Lindsay Hogg, the director, and with John, and he's having a chat with John, very intimate scene, very candid dialogue, and he's saying his plans. And then there's a very intriguing moment when George is telling John that he'd like to record an album on his own, which I'd never seen anything about this before, and he's saying, he just says, fuck all that, I want to do my own thing, I want to, do me, and it's very interesting to hear that, because I know that George must have been thinking that he wanted to go solo already at this point, during the Get Back era. And then we have the warm-up for the rooftop concert on the 30th of January, the infamous rooftop gig, where the last time the band would play live together. And it was brilliant. We see the full 42-minute rooftop performance for the first time ever with the Peter Jackson's restored footage, and it is brilliant, from start to finish. There's passers-by interviewed on the street. saying, "Oh, the Beatles, you know, it's a new record." All the Cockney people on Savile Row and the business guys saying, "Oh, it's disrupting the business in the area." There was some negative response and some more positive response to the concert. And you know, there's also a lady saying, "It woke me up from my sleep and I don't like it." And then there's another the old guy who was interviewed, and he said, "I like the Beatles. You can't go wrong." He said, and he was asked, "Would you let your daughter grow up with the Beatles?" And he said, "Yeah, because they got money." So it's quite funny. And so we have the passers-by interviewed during the rooftop, and very interesting. The police showed up at number 3 Savile Row, and they talked to Jimmy, the butler, and they're like, you know, they don't think this is necessary. You know, because they've been 30 complaints in the last half an hour about the noise, and basically the police have been asked to turn down the noise, and then the sergeant turns up once the other policemen had gone onto the roof, and then the Beatles they finished off with, they started with the song Get Back as a warm-up and finished with Get Back, and that was the last song they could play really, because the police were already on the roof, and they're like, "Turn that noise down," you know. And you know, something to say about the rooftop concert, it looks like the 4 of them were having a good time. You know, they have a bit of banter in between each song, and they have a laugh, which is good to see, you know. So even at this time in their career, the last concert they played together, they were still good friends. And then it shows them after the concert in the control room listening to the playback of the concert, which was very good to see. And we finish off with the end credits on the final day, 31st of January, where they record some of the acoustic and more piano-based songs like Two of Us, Long and Winding Road, and Let It Be, which they wouldn't have been able to perform on the roof. And yeah, so just some final thoughts. You know, it was great to see this 3-part epic, if you like, from Peter Jackson. And you know, just the unseen footage over 60 hours, and the of course the fly on the wall aspect of it, and the candid dialogue and rehearsals, and you know, musicianship and the creative process. To see all that, it was brilliant, and I really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to the possible DVD release. I know there was supposed to be a DVD release at the end of February, but I believe there was a problem with the disc editing, and it's been set back. The DVD and Blu-ray has been set back until I believe September, but hopefully before, because it would be good to own it on DVD and watch it in my middle room and on the big screen again. Although I did enjoy it on Disney Plus, which is what the Get Back series was on. So you know, that's my thoughts on part 3 of Get Back. So as usual, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as usual, feel free to enjoy the video, like, share, subscribe and all that. Thank you very much.